What's good, folks? It's Dark 19 and welcome, new folks and old folks alike, to another What If. Now, if you would, please like, comment, subscribe, and share, and as well, follow your boy on Twitter. I don't post much there, but if you want, send me things you like, or judge me for the things I like. That will be all, and remember, the disrespect is real.
What good folks, it's Dark19 and welcome back to another What If, and I believe this is What If Naruto was Apocalypse Part 4, so do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe and share, but besides all that, enjoy the video. Chapter 4 Exodus begins. One by one, the boy formerly known as Naruto evolved each of the shinobi that wished to be further evolved like Haku, and achieve skills beyond measure. Anko had evolved herself using her connection to snakes and infiltrating to become a shapeshifter and went by the codenamed Mystique. Kabuto, who had to avoid a brutal beating at the hands of some people for his past affiliation with Orochimaru, also earned the right to evolve, and was also transformed into a shapeshifter due to his similar past connection to the snake Sani. He now went by the codenamed Morph, which suited Kabuto just fine since he liked his abilities that allowed him to access to places he normally couldn't, and thanked his master for this opportunity. As for Ino, her clan's abilities gave her a form of telepathy like Apocalypse, but nowhere near his level, though with training from him could be a force to be reckoned with, and upon further study had the power to turn her entire body into a living diamond. Granted, the downside of this was Ino temporarily had to surrender the use of her mental powers, but it helped when in the middle of an all-out close combat fight, and required she use her body to fight her foes instead of her mind. Not really sure what to call herself in terms of a codename, Ino decided on an alias, and called herself Emma Frost. Shino had also gone through the procedure too, as he wanted to see what was in store for his clan should they wish to evolve themselves, and stated that it is only logical that at least one member of the Aburame clan attempts this, and since I am the only one here, I nominate myself for the procedure before Apocalypse did it. With surprising results. Due to Shino's connection with bugs due to his clan bloodline, he obtained the abilities of them in terms of a spider, and acquired their traits from agility to shooting webbing from his wrist. He could lift heavy objects with Tsunade-like strength, cling to walls, and had also developed a spider sense that would alert him of danger aimed at him. At the same time, the insects in his body did not leave, and wished to continue being with Shino since they did not wish to lose their colony within his body. Lee was using his newfound ability of going super fast like there was no tomorrow, as he used in training with gravity seals on, and he would go even faster if they were taken off. His hair change was a surprise too, but Lee didn't mind even if it no longer bowl-shaped, and felt that it seemed right to the boy. What came as a surprise to Apocalypse was Choji actually wanted to go through with the procedure himself and see just what it would do for him should his family wish to try. The Fox vessel was hesitant to put Choji through this because it could make him evolve into something extremely fat and didn't want to make it an issue for the boy. However, Choji insisted, and told him to do it. The results were strange to say the least. Apparently, because of Choji's clan abilities, the former Leaf Shinobi could change his body into one of an unstoppable force, or an immovable object that would be just what Apocalypse believed he would become. So, Choji gave himself two code names Blob and Juggernaut for each form, before thanking his friend for this opportunity. As for everyone else, they felt they weren't ready to be put through the procedure, which the young master of magnetism along with several other powers behind the procedure just told them it was alright, and reminded them it was merely a simple matter of choice. When the time came, if there was on, of course, they would go through with it, and seek him out. However, Apocalypse explained that not everyone can evolve like those that did because they were at their primed evolved state with their abilities, and or bloodlines. What do you plan to do next, Apocalypse-sama? Said Haku, as she stood beside him in his private office, after getting his permission to enter first, and saw him looking over a large map of the elemental countries. "Tell me, Haku-chan, what do you see here on this map?" said Apocalypse, as he felt he could trust her, and knew Haku's devotion to him was unflinching. "The elemental countries and the shinobi villages that inhabit them for those that have them," said Haku, as she studies the map carefully, and looks like any ordinary map. "Correct. Now with word getting out of my return and the eventual plan I wish to set in motion for people like us everywhere, do you believe any of these area on the map will allow us to live there without question?" said Apocalypse, as he saw Haku go deep in thought, and shake her head no at his answer. "No, Apocalypse-sama. They will see us as a threat and seek to destroy us any chance they get," said Haku, as she saw him turn to her, and smiled behind his helmet. "Correct. So the question for you now is, how do we live in the elemental countries when there is no safe place to live?" said Apocalypse, as he saw Haku frown in thought, and knew that she couldn't think of an answer. "I do not know, Apocalypse-sama. I do not think it's possible," said Haku, as she saw him just smile further before turning to face her, and saw the slowly forming blush appearing on her face. "What if I told you there was once an island that here between Wave Country, the borders of Fire Country along their seaboard, and Water Country? What if I told you that in this very spot buried underwater, is an island no longer on the map, and was what was once known as Whirlpool Country? That I could raise the island from the ocean depths, which consumed it after one of Kyuubi's tails created a tsunami that wiped it out, and forced it deep underwater," said Apocalypse, as he saw Haku's eyes widen, and knew she couldn't believe such news to be possible. "I did tell you I was sorry about that," said Kyuubi, as he wasn't fully to blame for that since he was under the control of Madara, and the jerk had a grudge against all shinobi villages. "Can you truly raise it from the ground, Apocalypse-sama?" said Haku, as even she did not believe that it was possible to raise such a place out of the ground, and while she did not doubt her master, it begged the question of his sanity turning to insanity. "Of course. It will drain me afterwards, so do not be surprised when I collapse from the strain," said Apocalypse, as he put a piece of paper with the Whirlpool Country symbol on it where the island would have been on the map. "I will do all that is within my newly evolved powers you gave me to help you while you raise Whirlpool Country from the ground, Apocalypse-sama," said Haku, as she knew that in his weakened state, it could prompt his enemies to seek him out, and use what might be their only opportunity to kill him. "I know, Haku-chan, and thank you for your support in this. And for the record, Whirlpool Country is going to be renamed into something new, and will be a symbol for everyone unlawfully wronged by the world to seek sanctuary on my island," said Apocalypse, as he saw Haku raised an eyebrow in curiosity, and knew she wanted to ask him a question. "What will the island be renamed then, Apocalypse-sama?" said Haku, as she saw the boy smile a half-devious half-roguish smile, and saw ambition burning within his eyes. "Genosha. That will be its name. It will be the sanctuary for the wronged, the innocent, and the discriminated people of the world," said Apocalypse, as he was going to do all that his powers allowed him to do, and bring his dream to a reality. And after Genosha was raised, he would focus on his kin next that needed to be saved from the other people within the elemental countries, and would result in the young boy teaching his enemies one final lesson. The young Namikaze heir was going to make them remember before their deaths not to upset a Namikaze clan member. If the fools thought his father was bad when enraged during the last Shinobi War, just wait until they deal with Namikaze Minato's son, and unleash the true meaning of pain. "Unknown location at the moment, so our information was accurate and the Kyuubi vessel is indeed alive," said Pain, as he stood before 8 other people, and saw them now listening intently to the information they have gathered. It had been roughly 12 years since the Akatsuki organization had been formed with the desire to capture all the tailed demons in order to use them in this statue to be the ultimate weapon in their hands, of supposed immortal beings, and end war forever. Of course that was the official ideal of the organization, but the real reason was known to one Uchiha Madara working from the shadows to acquire all the beasts to form the 10-tailed beasts before possessing its body, and then casting the ultimate Tsukiyomi on the world with him ruling over it like a god. And being an Uchiha, it was Madara's beliefs that anything less than godhood wasn't worth taking unless it was the real thing, and felt he deserved. Yes. Turns out he did quite a number on the Leaf and Fire Country as a whole. Turns out the village screwed him and his old man the Yondaime over before going off the map. Now at the Chunin exams, the kid comes back, renames himself Apocalypse, and unleashes the most vicious psychic attack in the history of the elemental countries, said Kisame, as he sees everyone around the room looking impressed by such an attack, and that it was done by someone so young. He also read Orochimaru's mind and performed a forbidden jutsu that would bring back people from the dead with the end result bringing the Yondaime back to life, said Itachi, as he saw everyone stiffen at that, and knew that if the yellow flash was back then things were going to get difficult in getting the man's son. Even more disturbing was the Sandaime was in on the Gaki's abuse to make him more submissive to the village. Rumor has it, the Kyubi vessel paid the old Cage a visit later on, and tore the man to pieces. Not only that, but the Gaki's mother is alive, and had been the victim of torture at the hands of Danzo, said Kisame, as he saw the other members murmuring now, and looking a bit fidgety. I take it the boy was exactly jumping with joy when he learned of this, said Pain, as he saw Itachi and Kisame shake their heads no. He tore through that place like a bat out of hell and causing a shitload of damage in the process. We snuck into the village to look at the damage the kid did, and trust me when I tell you the Kyubi vessel has anger issues, said Kisame, as he had seen the path of the destruction and death Naruto created to get to his mother. If he wasn't so terrified of the brat, Kisame would be envious, and request that the boy be offered a job. Any idea where he is now? Said Pain, as he knew that locating the Kyubi vessel was a priority now, and couldn't risk losing him a second time. We lost his trail, Pain-sama. He threw off any trail his chakra makes by throwing out a massive electromagnetic discharge. It disrupted my Sharingan so I couldn't follow, said Itachi, as he felt his eyes hurting when they tried to follow from Konoha, and lost him halfway to any elemental country that was north of Fire Country. This is most disturbing. Fortunately, we don't need him right way, so we will ignore the Kyubi vessel within reason, and go after the others, said Pain, as he saw the others nod, and they left to focus on their respected sealed vessels. Wave Country at the moment, Apocalypse was on a beachhead within Wave Country with a port for shipping being on this particular spot, which was what he wanted, and paid heavily to buy a transport-class ship named the River Styx to take out to sea. With him was Haku, Kabuto, Hinata, Tsunade, Kurenai, Anko, Ino, Shino, Lee, and Shikamaru. On the boat he was steered by Kabuto, transformed into an unknown ship captain to keep a low profile. After a few hours, Apocalypse mentally commanded Kabuto to shut down the ship, and walked to front of the vessel with the others behind him watching him stare out into the empty ocean. Ino was told to walk closer to his position on the ship to catch him for the off chance he fell from overtaxing himself before he began to ascend to the skies above, and used his psychic powers in combination of his magnetic powers to begin the very difficult process of raising his mother's homeland from the ocean depths. Do you think he can do this? Said Tsunade, as she saw the boy hovering over the ocean, and saw it was beginning to make waves with something slowly rising. I don't know. When he first told everyone what he was going to do, I was skeptical, but after seeing what I have seen with Kyubi, the fact Kushina being alive, and the Gaki's powers, I think Naruto can, said Kurenai, as she knew the boy was not a monster, but nearly turned into one by so many people, and wished to make things in the world right. Nothing can stop Apocalypse-sama. He's on a mission and no one is going to stand in his way, said Haku, as she saw the water ripping wildly, and knew her master was going to do it. And Apocalypse did just that, as he let out a great roar, and used all the power within his body to raise the lost island that was Whirlpool Country from the ocean depths. Once he stabilized its position in the water, the young demon vessel released his hold on both his magnetic and psychic powers to find himself blacking out while falling down to ship below. Seeing his descent, Ino instantly used her newly acquired physic powers to slow down Apocalypse's fall, but could only hold him for a few seconds upon stopping his fall, and Haku transforming into her new ice form before going up to catch him after making a bridge of ice to get there. Taking him down to Tsunade, Haku let the slug princess look him over with a critical eye, and found the boy was dangerously overexerted his powers to raise his utopia from the ground. The Namikaze heir would require bed rest for well over a week, but that was it, and was for the moment in a disabled state. Haku instantly nominated herself as Apocalypse's personal nurse to help in his recovery, as she had been so before with Zabuza before his death, and had no problem taking up that position once more. As Tsunade took Naruto down deeper into the ship's interior with Haku beside her, the others looked at the massive island the boy had unleashed upon the world, and suddenly realized a valuable part of the Namikaze heir's plan. Naruto was planning an exodus of every wronged, persecuted, shunned, and oppressed person residing in the elemental countries, and bring them to this island to create a place where they could be free. All was left was to let the world know of its existence. 1 week, 3 days, and 8 hours later, the boy, who would one day be a man, and called himself Apocalypse, awoke to find he was in the medical bay of the ship. Apocalypse rose from his bed to find he was wearing a hospital gown, as he had his clothing removed so it would let him rest, and give his godmother Tsunade a chance to do her own medical checkup on her godson while he recovered. Rising from his bed, the boy used his magnetic powers to summon his clothing weaved in metallic fabric to cover his body once more, and his helmet that covered his spiky semi-animalistic hair. Walking out of the room, he saw the Haku was walking toward his room with a tray of food, and was happy to see him moving around under his own power. Apocalypse-sama, I am happy you are feeling better, said Haku, as she bowed her head, and hoped she had done an exceptional job in being his bedside nurse. I am. Thank you, Haku-chan. Please follow me and bring the food too. I feel like eating outside today while watching the ocean and with company, said Apocalypse, as he saw Haku blush, and walked beside him to deck of the ship. When they reached the deck, the boy saw the others were relaxing with Choji eating all he could eat from the fridge, Kabuto still being in his captain form, and Shino felt that he should test his mental skills against Shikamaru and Shogi. Lee was using his speed to zip around training, as Ino, Tsunade, Kurenai, and Anko were getting in a little sunbathing done. Hinata was there too, but she was covered up more than they were, and scrambled to cover herself more when she saw Apocalypse make his way over towards them with Haku. Hey, there's my favorite godson, said Tsunade, as she took off her sunglasses, and saw the boy she had lost 12 years in raising walking towards them with a smile on his face. For once, the cold fury that once filled those blue eyes was gone, and they held a warmth in them that made the females before him blush heavily from it. Tsunade-san, you know I'm your only godson, but thank you all the same, and I do hope you are enjoying yourselves, said Apocalypse, as he saw them nodding, and Anko doing a bit of sexy posing for him before Kurenai glared at her to stop it. Of course. Though in all seriousness, how are you doing, Naruto-kun? Said Tsunade, as she saw him flinch at her name for him since he never did like it for obvious reasons, and look out to where the island was before smiling. Better. All is left now is to relocate everything within my base of operations to the island and then begin contacting others to head to my sanctuary, said Apocalypse, as he looked at the island off in the distance, and could see it now being the paradise he knew it would be under his young guiding hand. How are you going to do that? Said Ino, as she had been curious herself about the boy's plans, and saw the smirk that now was on Apocalypse's face. The same way I attacked Fire Country Ino-chan, only without the pain, and begging for death part, said Apocalypse, as he let out a small chuckle, and then turned to Hinata, now wrapping the towel tighter around her form while blushing at his approach. Sitting down in a chair beside her, Apocalypse motioned for Haku to sit in the chair next to him, and used his powers to take the tray of food out of her hands to place on his lap. All the while, Hinata was nervous that the towel she had to cover her body would, in some unexplained way, fly off to reveal her two-piece bathing suit, acquired thanks to Anko by means unknown, and reveal her form to him. You look nervous, Hinata-chan. Why is that? Said Apocalypse, as he saw the Hyuga girl blush further, and wrap the towel around her form further while acting like a shy turtle. And no reason, said Hinata, as she blushed further when she remembered how her crush could read her mind, and let out an eep. Before looking away embarrassed. Hinata-chan, you know that's not true, and if you don't reveal what's beyond the robe, I will have to remove it from you, said Apocalypse, as he saw her looking even more scared, and shy in a cute way that made him laugh. You don't have to keep teasing poor Hinata, said Kurenai, as she saw her student in trouble, and yet felt powerless to stop it. Perhaps. But it is for her own good, said Apocalypse, as he uses his psychic powers to remove the long towel to reveal the two-piece Hinata was wearing, and made every male on the ship look at her with the utmost surprise. Please don't look, Naruto-kun. I'm ugly, said Hinata, as she tried to cover up her form somehow, and saw her crush get out of his seat before standing right in front of her. Says who? Hinata-chan, you have no reason to hide that figure of yours, and can be proud of the body you have because it's one with incredible strength behind it just waiting to be unleashed, said Apocalypse, as he saw the girl now go full body blush, and faint in his arms. Pay up. I called it, said Anko, as she stretched out her hand for the money Tsunade owed her, and the Sanin put the money in her hands before half of it flew out of it to relocate in Naruto's right. This is my cut from your little bet, said Apocalypse, as he put the Hyuga girl back in her chair, and covered her with a towel to keep the other males on the ship from eyeing her defenseless form. She really likes you, Naruto, said Ino, as she didn't need to read Hinata's mind to know what it was that went on through it, and how much the Hyuga heiress wanted the young master of magnetism. I know. I just want the poor girl to grow out of her shell. Hinata has lots of potential and I intend to bring it out in my own way, said Apocalypse, as he sat back down, and began eating his meal Haku prepared for him while turning his full attention to her now. Is the meal adequate to your liking, Apocalypse-sama? Said Haku, as she saw him take a bite of sushi she had prepared for him, and saw him close his eyes for a moment before slowly opening them back up. Very nice, Haku-chan. Truly food that is also a work of art, said Apocalypse, as he saw Haku blush, and loved the praise he gave her. He better not break Hinata's art, thought Kurenai, as she looked at the boy acting more like a boy now, than he did days ago, and wasn't out to destroy the leaf. Kurenai-san, I wouldn't dream of hurting Hinata-chan, and for your information I fall under the laws of every shinobi village in terms of the Clan Restoration Act, said a now smiling Apocalypse, as he saw Kurenai blush in embarrassment at having her mind read, and then glared at him for it. Really? Can I join? Said Anko, as she was smiling devilishly at him, and got shocked looks at the others around them. Anko. He's several years your junior for Kami's sake, said Kurenai, as she saw Anko pout at her, and then gave the young Namikaze her sexiest smile. So? Age doesn't matter in the shinobi world or in terms of clans for that matter. Besides, Naruto-kun got the short end of the stick when he was a kid, and so did I when I came back to Konoha for being the heavy team's former apprentice, said Anko, as she winked at Apocalypse, who smirked at her, and saw Haku turning slightly to glare at the older woman. You bring up a few good points there, Anko-chan. Tell you what, I will go on a date with you if you help with getting Hinata-chan out of her shell, and help her get stronger, said Apocalypse, as he saw Anko nod her head vigorously, and saying they had a deal. Poor Hinata. When do we return back? I mean the others must be worried about us, said Lee, as he knew he could easily zip from the boat to their temporary home on land, and let everyone know what was going on. No need. I telepathically contacted them and they know what I've done. My mother is currently crying tears of joy at having her homeland above the ocean floor, said a now crying Apoc no Namikaze Naruto, as he could stop being that person for this single moment, and being a simple boy with a mother getting the best gift any son could give their mother. In a way, his mother needed this more than he did, and Naruto wasn't going to mind it in the slightest. Soon, the greatest exodus in all mankind would begin, and then the cancerous element that plagued it would be destroyed. What good folks, it's Darkthree19 and welcome back to another What If, and I believe this is What If Naruto Was Apocalypse Part 5, so like, comment, subscribe and share it with friends, but besides all that, enjoy the video. Chapter 5 Fragile Grounds. For the next 3 years, things within the elemental countries had begun escalating to that of a boiling point, as the rise of the long-destroyed Whirlpool country had gotten everyone talking, and fearful of the being that could do something like that. During that time, the Fire Daimyo had asked Namikaze Minato to become Hokage once more of the Leaf, if only to keep things from getting worse, and to bring some sense of order to it. The once dead, now very much living Yondaime did so knowing that the councils would try to nominate Danzo had they gotten their chance, but the feudal lord's decision had stopped any chance of that from happening, and the War Hawk was furious. During the long 3 years, Danzo was under the watchful eye of the Yondaime, as the blonde man slowly began to systematically destroy everything the War Hawk and the councils had built around them in terms of a power base within Konoha. Not only that, but the academy was getting a remodeling in terms of teaching, and just what it is that the students should be learning. The hospital had also gone under some changes with Tsunade, who had come back at Naruto's insistence to scout for potential people worthy of his sanctuary, and being the new administrator thanks to Minato and telling her to do what needed to be done to get what she wanted. And Tsunade did just that. The various doctors and nurses that had long since forgotten their oaths in treating people were painfully reminded of what it means to forget something so sacred as that oath. Under Tsunade's watch, the hospital was brought up to speed in healing and curing those that needed such treatment. Many within the councils told the Yondaime that such a use of money was a waste and it should be spent in other ways. Of course, Minato was not the fool they believed him to be when he took office again, and told them that this village would be destroyed by their hands. That was his son's job. As for the elemental countries, the people in charge of their territories had noticed that the people within their lands seemed to be leaving for Whirlpool country, and it wasn't just that of civilians either. Shinobi from all over, from small to large groups, were now leaving their shinobi villages, and it was completely shocking to the Kijis. Which is why, after 3 long years of finally getting some form of stability within the elemental countries after the seeming unexplained migration of people towards, did the daimyos and Kijis get together at a massive summit that had up until now had never happened before. Even Orochimaru was at attendance due to his own shinobi village, but the man had neither the means, nor the strength to pull off any kind of attack like he did with the Leaf before when he tricked Suna into betraying their allies, and killing their Kazekage in order to get to the late Sandaime. Speaking of Suna, Gaara had eventually left his village for the land of Whirlpool with his eldest sibling Tamari, while Subaku no Kankuro was left to take over the village's affairs as the new Kazekage, and using his negotiation skills with the Wind Daimyo to convince him to rethink the idea of decreasing the budget of their village. The Wind Daimyo had indeed rethinked the idea, as he realized it made everyone believe that his village was weak, and had felt partially responsible for their hand in the invasion of the Leaf. As such, the Wind Daimyo was able to undo all the damage he had done to Suna, and knew that Iwa if not Kumo could still be a threat to his country. Order. Order. This summit will be called to order, said the speaker, banging a large gavel that echoed throughout the room before the large group of daimyos and kijis of their respected territories. Right now it looked like that of large group of squabbling children. The daimyo of water wishes to know just how it is that so many people can flock to a country that has been destroyed for well over a decade, said the representative to the water daimyo, who was not that far away, and saw many more representatives of their feudal lords also getting into this conversation. Minato, for the most part, ignored them all, as he focused on the daimyo of Whirlpool, or as the name stated on it now being called Genosha. The red-haired woman looked at him with indifference, as if she didn't know him at all, but Minato knew deep down that the woman wanted to yell at him for using their son like he did to save an ungrateful village, and beat him within an inch of his newly restored life. Kami knew that he deserved to get the beating of a lifetime from Kushina for what he did, as well as trust in the Leaf Village to honor his dying wish. When the Namikaze himself knew that was not the case, and was stupid to believe they would. Kushina, you look as beautiful as ever, and I wish you could know how sorry I am for what happened to our boy, thought Minato, as he saw the woman looking at section that represented Fire Country, and was doing everything within her mental willpower not to come at them with a rage equal to that of a vengeful god. What bothers me, is that a certain number of powerful beings have left their respectful shinobi villages, and flocked straight to this Genosha that was once considered to be that of Whirlpool country. I demand an answer from the so-called daimyo of Genosha, said the Earth daimyo Abel Tamors, as he now got looks from everyone at his words, and that included a deadly look from Minato, currently staring at him with cold blue eyes. What are you referring to, Tamor-sama? Many people have come to my homeland in search of seeking a life of significance away from the persecution of others because they are different from you, said Kushina, as she was glad that her son put her in charge of her homeland, and had used his powers to make it the growing utopia that he had put all his heart into. It also hurt Kushina to see her baby boy continuing to push himself to the point of near exhaustion, and she couldn't stop him from doing it no matter how hard she tried. She saw Naruto grow in the last 3 years into something she was proud yet terrified of, as she knew no amount of motherly love could take away the hatred her son had for the world for letting arrogant power-hungry fools come to power, and leading almost all of the elemental countries into ruin. I'm referring to the fact that all the demon vessels from various shinobi villages have left to head to your country. Such weapons should not be in a single place for just one person like yourself to use however you see fit to manage, said Abel, as he pointed an accusing finger at Kushina, and the woman just smirked at him. As if I would stoop so low like the various people here to use such people as slaves to command, and I certainly do not call them weapons, Tamor-sama. In fact, I prefer to think of them as people, and show them the respect they deserve for having what was done to them that was beyond their control. Unlike you or the lightning daimyo, I do not classify them with the term it, but rather the terms, he, she, and them, since they, like I said before, are people, said Kushina, as she saw several people protest, and shout out that she was wrong about her point of view. The representative of lightning daimyo objects to your statement, as does the Raikage of Kumo, and speak for both of them when I say that demon vessels are a resource to be managed like any other. That such things are not people and should be treated like they are beneath us in order to keep the natural way of life for the human race to continue, said the representative, as he got cheers of approval from Earth Country, and several others too. And people wonder why such people leave when given the opportunity for a new life away from the cruel one they've been given all this time. Bekas, thought Minato, as he saw Kushina shake her head, and seemed to look away for a second, though the man knew his wife was now secretly talking to someone right now. And he had a good idea who it was. The bickering between sides was soon silenced by the ceiling above the summit shaking and then breaking to reveal a young man surrounded by an electromagnetic field. In that instant, Anbu from each shinobi village surrounded their respected kijis. The samurai went to their bodyguards, and watched this man descend to where the main speaker of this summit had once been. The 9 demon vessels of the elemental countries will no longer be managed by the likes of you, the feudal lords, or the kijis of the shinobi villages, Mr. Representative, said a deep smooth voice from the figure looking over the people in the room, and nodded to Kushina for telling him everything that was happening during this meeting. The monster has come to kill us. Run, said the lightning representative in a terrified voice before running to the door, but couldn't open it due to it being magnetically sealed, and was soon had a long metal pipe from the nearby railing wrapped around his body before being levitated back to his seat. You will all stay seated until I have finished, said Apocalypse, as he brought the man to his seat, and kept the bar bound to him magnetically to keep anyone from prying it off of him. With all due respect, Apocalypse-sama, why is it you are here at this summit? Said the fire daimyo, as he rose from his chair in a polite, and trying not to provoke him, the young man. Gentlemen, ladies, daimyos and kijis alike. Many of you have been seeking answers to the questions that have plagued you for the last 3 years since the rise of Genosha. I am here to answer those questions and inform you all that the liberation of all the innocent people within the elemental countries has begun, said Apocalypse, as he removed his helmet to reveal his spiky hair, his whisker marks, and his intense eyes that made many shiver with fear at their power. And what do you mean by that exactly? Said the Raikage, as he had been furious at his brother, and Yugito for leaving Kumo without warning. The reason I used my powers to raise the island that was my mother's homeland from the ground was to create a sanctuary for the people of the world, who have been shunned, oppressed, and hated by the arrogant fools that stand before me in this room. I personally have witnessed the barbaric nature of the human race when I was a child, as have all the other nine-tailed vessels you would so greedily use to make into weapons of war, and treat them as if they were lower than slime. I have witnessed the lives of others through their memories under your rule, as they are beaten within an inch of their already weak lives, and feeding off the scrapes that no one else wants while their spirit suffocates. I have seen others try to cast down the arrogance you have by serving you loyally to the point that they would even give their own lives to do so. Their efforts have been repaid with brutality, hatred, and further acts of oppression that no one should have to endure, said Apocalypse, as he manipulated the metal in the room to create a large TV screen that showed footage pulled from the minds of those that he saved, and broadcasting them into the screen showing Subaku no Gaara's life, Haku's life growing up before Zabuza, and his own and being beaten for reasons he didn't understand. Your kind are all monsters. Anyone who would follow you are monster lovers and should be put down if not enslaved for such a crime, said the Tsuchikage, as he would not tolerate such things, and would have spoke out further had he not felt an intense pain in his chest. Tell me, Tsuchikage-sama, do you still have that special pacemaker to keep your heart from collapsing on itself, and keep you stable in your old age? Said Apocalypse, as he was tempted to pull the device out of the old man's heart, and instead settled for shutting it down temporarily to let the old man suffer. Naruto, please release him. We don't need to start a war with Iwa when they will use this to rally Kumo and others to their cause to attack us. Don't forget that Akatsuki is also after you and the others, thought Kushina, as she spoke to her son, and saw him frown a little before relenting his hold on the pacemaker with the Tsuchikage now recovering from his near heart attack. My mission is to create a utopia where there is no more suffering, no more pain for the innocent people of the world, and give them a place where they are not hated for being different from normal people. Where they don't have to sleep with one eye open at night, where they are not beaten on their birthdays, and hated for something that was not their fault to begin with. My mission is peaceful and to go against it would be unwise. The choice is now yours, fellow dignitaries of the elemental countries, if you wish to oppose me. Choose wisely, said Apocalypse, as he put his helmet on, and levitated out of the room the same way he had entered. There was a stunning silence after that. No one knew what to say, do, or even think at the sight of the man currently the closest thing to a god. They were so stunned no one noticed Kushina was out of the room with her loyal guards until much later. Shortly after, Minato did the same, and intended to seek some kind of audience with his estranged wife in the hopes of finding some common ground. Genosha Daimyo's private quarters, you know I could easily order my bodyguards to kill you for coming into my room uninvited and without reason, oh great Yondaime Hokage, said Kushina, as she sensed her husband come into the room, and turned to face him with an angry glare. You could, but we both know you won't because you want to talk to me yourself, and I also know your bodyguards are unique enough to sense even me entering your room, said Minato, as he knew that if her bodyguards wanted to stop him, they would have done it long before he entered the room, and thrown him out if he let them. You could always read the actions of others when it came to a mission, but you were so damn clueless when it came to a person when it came to personal matters, and were such a baka when it came to our relationship in the beginning, said Kushina, as she walked over to the window, and looked out at the area around the summit. Yeah. I remember you practically clubbed me in the back of the head and dragged me to your place by my hair for our first date. Though something tells me that you would have given me a huge headache without that club, said Minato, as he laughed at his own joke, but found he was the only one, and shut up when he saw Kushina's glare. This is not the time for you to be laughing about the past, Minato. Not when our son's life is at stake, said Kushina, as she saw his smile leave him, and become deadly serious. How has he been? Has he improved in terms of happiness? Said Minato, as he knew of the Akatsuki hunting Naruto, and had Jiraiya use his spy network to track down all its members to take them down. He changes from time to time in personality. It's like he wants to be the kind young man I know he would be, but at the same time, I see him becoming what that monster tried to turn him into, and I don't know how to counter it. I see him conflicted at times with what to do, I see him smile, but his eyes don't always match the face, and there are times when he wants to be close to others yet he shuts them out. He's two people trapped in one body and it's threatening to split him in half, said Kushina, as she felt tears run down her face, and knew the only reason her son was even sane right now was because of his drive to complete his goal. The girls in Naruto's life could do only so much. Haku had always been by his side when she wasn't training, or helping others with her new job as one of the head nurses at the hospital. Hinata was the same, as Anko had helped the girl get out of her shell, and the two had tried to soothe the scarred heart of Naruto. Ino, also known as Emma Frost, and because she had a sudden desire to wear white all the time, had also given herself the title of White Queen since she felt like royalty when wearing the clothing for some reason. Shikamaru thought she was being troublesome, which resulted in Ino using her mental powers to make the Nara think he was a 6-year-old girl, and could be found braiding other girls' hair while wearing a dress for the next couple of days. Tuya had kept her distance for the most part, but even she was concerned about Naruto when she saw him on one of his tired days, and told Kushina that she felt he was working himself to death. In fact, Tuya had half mind to take her flute, and smash Naruto over the head with it before keeping him restrained in bed to sleep for the next few weeks. Kushina, I know you hate me for what I did, but you have to understand there was no other I could trust with holding Kyuubi, and you know I'm right. You know there was no other to ask, and had Kakashi not betrayed your location to Danzo, then our son would have been loved by you instead of being turned into what he is now, said Minato, as he saw Kushina look away from him, and he saw tears running down her face. It still doesn't make it right, Minato. You took a child, our child mind you, and turned him into a demon vessel without even thinking that your belief in the village was wrong. I know you are right about choosing Naruto, but you are still part of the blame for what happened to him. And a part of me will always hate you for it, said Kushina, as she felt her anger at the man lessen slightly, but it wouldn't go away fully, and was only trying to tolerate him for their son. I know. I keep replaying everything over and over again in my head about the night that Kyuubi attacked the leaf. I was a fool to think the village would see the light, I was a fool for trusting the damn Sandaime, and Jiraiya with the task of raising Naruto. Made a fool's gambit, Kushina, and I paid the price for it with my life while Naruto paid for it in suffering at the hands of the villagers. You paid for it at Danzo's hands, and trust me, I would like nothing more than to destroy him for it, but I can't, said Minato, as he saw his wife look at him like he was crazy, and had crazy tell me why or you're fucking dead look in her eyes. Why not? You know what he did to me, so why can't you kill him? Said Kushina, as she looked at her husband with outright anger, and he winced under her gaze. Because the Shinigami won't let me. He told me that Danzo's death would come, but not at my hands, and only at the hands of the one meant to kill him, said Minato, as he had so very much desired to kill Danzo, but couldn't do it because of the damn death god, and could only settle for crushing the old war hawk's ambitions one idea at a time. Did he tell you who? Said Kushina, as she hoped it was either her, or Naruto that tore that man apart for what he did. No details as of yet, but if I was a betting man, I would say it was you, and Naruto being the two prized candidates for that task, said Minato, since he knew Danzo had screwed with his wife and son for too long. How is that damn village, by the way? Still being arrogant as ever? Said Kushina, as she saw him flinch once again, and look away in shame. Despite losing the Aburame, Akamiki, Yamanaka, Nara, and Inuzuka clans? Yes. The people are for the most part in the belief that they are invincible because I am now their Hokage and Jiraiya is more active with Tsunade back running the hospital again. Did you know the fools on the councils demanded I punish Tsunade for leaving with you back to Naruto's secret base? Ha! I sent them to Ibiki and told him to enjoy himself, said Minato, as he smirked at how they all cried, and begged for mercy while being dragged off by his Anbu. Tsunade's only back to help find candidates for in the village that still can't relocate to Genosha just yet, even after nearly being back in the Leaf Village for 3 years, said Kushina, as she felt the need to remind her husband of that fact, and saw him nod in full agreement. I know and trust me when I say she has done a great job. There is one case I haven't resolved yet from the Kurama clan. Some of her family tried to kill her years ago shortly after the invasion, but the Anbu did their jobs, and stopped them from succeeding. She's actually gotten better due to Naruto's psychic attack on Konoha and made it suppress the Ito within her for a time until I could do a proper sealing to keep it at bay without hurting her. Mentally, the girl's fine, but physically, her body is still too weak to move even with Tsunade giving her physical therapy, and I fear for her safety still in the leaf, said Minato, as Yakumo was now making brighter painting without genjutsu traps in them, and wished to apologize to her former sensei in the shinobi art if she was given the chance. I'm sure Naruto can arrange transportation for her if I ask him to grant the girl sanctuary to Genosha, said Kushina, as she knew her son was busy with the duties of the island, and the shinobi village there. Does he still hate me? Said Minato, as he knew that was also important, and needed to know. He's indifferent to you right now. Naruto accepts that you are his father, but you're still dead to him in his eyes, and maybe until the day he dies, said Kushina, as she saw her son scowling at the sound of Minato's name at times, and yet it was not so hateful like it was 3 years ago. "Well, it's better than hating my guts," said Minato, as Naruto hadn't even looked at him when the fire daimyo addressed him about the matter of all the people heading to Genosha, and wished he could talk to his son again. "What about Jiraiya? Has he finally forsaken his perverted ways and decided to act like a much more responsible adult?" said Kushina, as she wanted to rip that man to pieces, and show him just how vengeful a mother can be. "Well, he's still a super pervert, but as of 3 years ago, and Naruto's actions, the man has toned it down a bit enough that he gets beaten up every other day," said Minato, as he saw Kushina getting angry at the Sannin all over again, and would have to send Tsunade a message to literally beat the perverseness out of him. "I don't want Jiraiya near our son Minato. Understand? That man is not worthy of being Naruto's godfather," said Kushina, as she would kill the Sannin if he took even a single step on Genosha's soil, and wouldn't stop until there wasn't a strand of white hair left on Kami's green earth. "As if I would let him near Naruto," said Minato, as he smirked at his wife, and Kushina smiled back. "Take care, Minato. I sense things are going to get tense with Akatsuki and Orochimaru still around," said Kushina, as she saw Minato nod, and leave the room before slumping down in her chair with a sigh leaving her mouth. At this rate, the Uzumaki woman would get gray hairs to replace her red ones, and with her son pushing himself to the point of exhausting was going to bring those gray hairs a lot faster.